Just to remind, as our director said in the opening, we are very glad to have already some agreements in place with the WHO, with FAO, and we look at expanding the agreement with FAO also to include the veterinary aspects according also to the exchange of letters that took place in 2023. We have ongoing discussions with WOA, and I'm really glad that Chadia is here with us. We are looking to formalize this also in a formal partnership as with the others. Frank Martin just mentioned the recently signed MOU with UNEP. So I would say also there we are on the right track. Collaborations with international space, international collaborations with space agencies. We mentioned ISRO, particularly for the EO applications related to waterborne diseases. We mentioned NASA and JAXA for the RACE platform in the context of COVID. ESA is open to new partnerships as well. So here we had, I just want to remind all of us, the European Environmental Agency, the European Food and Safety Agency. We had national also health agencies. We had the Istituto Superiore di Sanità from Italy. We had the Santé France, Ministry of Health from France. We also have from Switzerland the Geneva Digital Hub, and this collaboration goes in the direction also of the implementation of the UN resolution that was again reminded to all of us by the Secretariat of the COPUOS on the first day. So again, we are trying to do what we can also towards implementation of these UN resolutions. We are open to partnerships also with other user organizations, all the ones that have been here, also the ones that have been online and new ones. So this is really my key message, my concluding message. We would like to think together with all of you also of governance, the optimal governance mechanisms for establishing a permanent dialogue between, I would say, demand and supply. How can we at best develop EO applications and services that can respond to the needs of the users? Let's not forget the non-governmental organizations. We had a session with some of them representing the different aspects, the medical aspect, the environmental aspect, the innovative technologies aspects. So this for us is key, and we really would like to strengthen that. Not to be too long, I would like now to go and check how we had some objectives, 3 objectives that we mentioned. So what were the current main challenges related to global health and Earth observation at large? The second objective was discussing with the scientists, policymakers, and industry the most pressing needs and information requirements. And the third one was providing users and stakeholders with Earth observation data, resources, and capabilities, which we have seen in the session that just concluded. So let's go now session by session. I kindly ask really the great facilitators that have been with us these 2 days and have really been the one behind all this machine and organizing all these fantastic 2 days, to introduce briefly themselves and then to present a summary slide of the key recommendations that have been formulated, of course, in coordination with the chairs of the 2 co-chairs of each session and the speakers of the 2 sessions. So let's start from session 1. So please, Marie-Louise, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. A quick introduction. So I'm currently a legal student at Nova School of Law and went to did the Space Summer program this summer in Brazil at ISU. As you heard earlier, I currently focus on metaverse application for space and Earth observation. And apart from that, I'm engaged in space law research. During session 1 was about users and stakeholders for global health. We had about 10 different speakers from all kinds of different associations, as Stefano mentioned earlier, including the WHO, FAO, EFSA, GEO, and others. The main topics discussed were the integration of Earth observation data into health initiative, with an emphasis on One Health approach and global collaboration, as well as the impact of biodiversity and environmental change on human health. There were several action items addressed. Some more hands-on action items we identified were that we shall move towards more anticipatory systems for forecasting and monitoring, and a need to estimate exposure proxies using Earth observation data for addressing non-communicable diseases, emphasizing a geographical approach. Some more people-centered action items that were addressed were communicating what exact data is needed and what for, as well as an encouragement of cross-sectional collaboration between stakeholders and industries. Finally, speakers also encouraged that we shall specialize in one common goal and move towards one direction, as it will increase the likelihood of achieving more in the long term. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marie-Louise. I'm now pleased to leave the floor to Basha for session 2. So please, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I briefly introduce myself. My name is Baja Boudoua. I have a veterinary medicine background, and currently I am doing a PhD at the Tétis unit in INRAE, France. And my PhD is about epidemiology and data science in the context of event-based surveillance. So I had the chance to facilitate the session 2 with Julia. The session was about Earth observation application, co-creation session on vector-borne diseases. And yesterday we had different presentation from FAO, Aviagis, NOAA, CIRAD, and EZS. And the objective was to develop a platform for Mediterranean, from the Mediterranean basin, providing strategies. I'm sorry, it's so small here, so I... Provide an example and provide data to facilitate analysis by users. We also wanted to provide... okay. Okay, the second objective was to provide suggestions on what still needs to be done and how to make the best use of variable, and then shape ESA's medium-term strategy from 2025 onwards. And the key notes and recommendation were summarized as follows. So first, we said that we should include more types of vector. As we saw, most of the presentation was about mosquitoes. Then we insisted on finding a common language. That means integration across discipline is needed. It's not only about EO and stakeholders. There is also the need to put together different experts. We said that we have to think about co-production rather than treating the community as producer versus users. And we also said that we need to make the data available easily. And also that access, treatment, statistics, and modeling should be standardized. This also part of the finding common languages work. So, and then we also said that an interdisciplinary team made by the triangle, science, policy, and technology is needed. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Baja. The next session this morning was on waterborne diseases. And for this session, I am pleased to leave the floor to Amy Campbell. Please, Amy.
Hi there. So yes, my name is Amy Campbell, and I'm a PhD researcher at the University of Southampton, looking into how climate change is driving the ecology and evolution of Vibrio bacteria, so marine Vibrio bacteria, and their associated waterborne diseases. So thinking back to the first thing this morning with our session on waterborne diseases, we heard from 4 speakers that spoke about a range of diseases, so from cholera and other Vibrios to things like hepatitis A and E. coli. And within that context, they were talking about things like environmental drivers, increase in incidence in endemic areas, but also emergence into new areas, and epidemics of particular lineages. Our speakers presented some of their current use cases, so where they're using EO data to understand those waterborne diseases. So that was in the context of kind of retrospective analysis of signals, environmental signals linked to those outbreaks, and they were using a range of GIS tools. Some of the main outputs coming for that were kind of suitability maps and identifying risk areas. And within that, they spoke about some of the EO variables that they were using within their research, so you can see them behind me. I won't read them all out. Some of the limitations that our speakers highlighted were things, so satellite limitations in terms of cloud cover in quite crucial areas, needing a higher spatial resolution for some applications, also trying to conciliate the differences between academic research questions compared to those within the kind of public health space. The availability and accessibility of surveillance data came up, which was limited for a lot of the diseases spoken about. And also the idea that the organisms we're focusing on that live in the marine environments are very adaptable, which adds extra complexity. So some of the key recommendations that came out of our discussion and from our speakers, in terms of data needs, we need to start combining data from lots of different sources, so epidemiological, genomic, as well as our EO data. And we need to provide analysis-ready data that is orientated towards those needs within the health sector. Also importantly for waterborne diseases was the inclusion of non-environmental metrics that can represent some of the more socio-economic drivers of waterborne diseases. In terms of sharing that data, as things have been said before, lots about integration in order to allow institutions to kind of track those pathogens in real time. So the sharing of surveillance data as well, I know has been quite a key discussion here today. And I think COVID was used as an example of a really great demonstration of data sharing and how we could track pathogens in time. In terms of skills transfer, the idea of kind of online training courses on using EO data with health, but I think what a really important point was providing software, code, and scripts which can promote EO data access. And in terms of in the future, rather than just focusing on case studies specifically, looking into joint programs between institutions, and it was also suggested that we engage with some of the regional branches of One Health. So yeah, thank you for our co-chairs and our speakers for such a good session earlier.
Thank you very much, Amy. The next session was on non-communicable diseases, our session 4. I'm pleased now to leave the floor to Laura. And please, Laura, introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Perez, and I'm an environmental biologist. I'm doctor in plant biology and biotechnology, and I'm the facilitator of the session 4, that was, as Stefano says, non-communicable disease, urban and blue and green areas. So here I'm going to make the summary. The topics that we saw here is the non-communicable disease in a context of increasing urbanization and a climate crisis. Also, we saw how the natural spaces, the green and blue areas, can improve the health indicators, especially the mental health. Also, we saw that sometimes it's not well distributed, the green and the blue areas in the city, and we detect some factors that can be response of this inequality. And the ESA provides several data sets that the most important for these studies is the economical, social, and environmental. So we detect some limitations that, as in other sessions happen, is the gaps of the biological data and the deficiency, let's say, or not the complete data set in the clinical data. And also would like to say that how the Earth observation programs are quite important. So especially to have the mapping to detect these factors that I told that are quite important. Also to make predictions. And now we saw in this session that new tools are being launched. And as a future things that we can do or is needed to do is like to do more research in non-communicable disease, increase the blue and green space in the cities, but also we need to check the lateral side effects of adding these spaces. And to finish that, the observation is a key point to detect, to assess the quality of the data, and to predict the near and future needs. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. Then we had co-creation session number 5. Would like to thank Diriti particularly for introducing this also concept and really for being a little bit the master behind all the co-creation sessions. And so please, Diriti, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Stefano. I'm Dhriti. I'm an Earth observation scientist at Plymouth Marine Laboratory, having a background in geography, studying in China, South Africa, and now in the UK. By the time we were in the 5th session, there were few clear-cut recommendations and discussions were on the table, and there were clearly overlap between sessions regarding privacy, promote of the use of tools and data, and focus on stakeholders. But there were, when I was facilitating 5 and 7, I could see that there were more overlay between a different scale of data set and the granular level of data that we need for our Earth observation. There were a few keywords which were highlighted in session 5. Particularly, I was very much interested and would like to explore the use of synthetic aperture radar for E. coli, which was presented by TechWorks Marine, and heat waves and human health in terms of, I think Ravi was mentioning about that for earthquake, we do have a scale, Richter scale, looking at the earthquake. Do we have similar for heat waves? And I think there will be some overlap when Anthony talks about session 7 summary, but that's what I would like to conclude, and rest of these are on the slides, and we'll be happy to share with you as well. Sorry, I sound so tired, but thank you very much for your support.
Thank you, Diriti. Then we had session number 6. This is really was really focusing on capacity building in the Earth observation and health domains. What was interesting of this session was that we were looking both at new actors, non-governmental organizations, field needs, activities really involving also the citizens themselves, local populations, new technologies, even exploring even the metaverse environment. So going also beyond traditional boundaries, involving, you know, ERSC, so the association, the European Association of Remote Sensing Companies, so seeing also the efforts that the investments in technology from industry towards innovation and capacity building. And then the training and the collaborations established with the regions. So Nereus, for example, the network of European regions using space. So there is really a strong dynamic there. And I want to remind all of us that many users here, also large agencies and other actors, have indicated a priority to work more with also involving ESA in building capacity building activities. Just to remind you, we had a training last year, every Wednesday, related to water, co-organized with PML, UMETSAT, a number of partners. We had even 600 participants online globally from all over the world. So this means that there is a need and there is an interest from the community out there. And so we would like to cover this gap and this need also for the other areas that we have explored over these 2 days. With this, to be short, session 6, I hand over to Fatma. I'm really glad that also she's representing the Red Cross. And so we have also this very important NGO doing really important work all over the world. And she's also wrapping up all these elements now. So I'm really pleased to leave the floor to Fatma, please.
Thank you, Stefano. Thank you. And as a brief bio for myself, I'm Fatma, I'm a medical doctor, and I'm affiliated with the movement of the Red Cross Red Crescent, including, but not limited to, serving with the Federation as a MENA advisor. My previous roles included serving as a council member of the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. So for session 6, we had the users and stakeholders, and we looked into capacity building in the EU and health domains. We looked into current use cases, and we explored the limitations and roadblocks that we already have. We also had an assessment of the needs that included the integration of stakeholders and tools for better data availability, and that would enable a better understanding of the uses of Earth observations. That would enable us in return to better understand and to implement it for the changes that we have in climate change for the Arctics, and also for the patterns associated with infectious diseases and contaminants of health. The recommendations were concised into a few points. The first one was that the metaverse and the Earth observations have benefits for radiology, cardiology, ophthalmology, and even psychology and psychiatry in providing stimulating green outdoor environments and even tools for personalized therapy. There was also a recommendation on capacity building and environmental controls in order to achieve the WHO targets for cholera. The link between the two bubbles, which were Earth observations and health, need to be bridged to ensure long-term and frequent communication between the two domains. And additionally to building into increased partnerships and bringing different stakeholders together, including experts from different fields with decision makers. In conclusion, combining Earth observations with tech patterns and also with the needs on the ground would be essential for providing a critical health products. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Fatma. Let's now move on to session 7, our concluding session. My main highlight is that together with Geneva Digital Hub, we are launching today the Innovation Challenge on Health. Some members of the group here and the consortium, which is leading, let's say, the EO4Health resilience activity, are part of this organization, of this challenge that will take place end of May, beginning of June. So I really invite all of you, both online and here, to submit ideas for the challenge in the next months, and then to be part of the teams that will actually implement the challenge. So please spread the news. With this, I now hand over to Anthony for his own wrap-up of the session. Thank you. Anthony, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Stefano. So I'm the last one to speak up before Stefano. I guess you will conclude. So last effort. So yeah, Anthony Delavoye. I'm working here in ESRIN as atmospheric composition on atmospheric composition applications. So I'm very glad to see the Earth observation and the health community together. And I would like to thank Stefano, all the people that participate to the organization, and all the participants for this, because I'm pretty sure we have a lot of things to do together, and especially for my side, I'm really looking forward to developing synergies between atmospheric composition observations and on and health, especially we talked about wildfires and urban air quality. So just a few messages on session 7. I had no time to complete the slide, but additionally to the hackathon that Stefano just talked about, we have this highlight of a need for guidelines or minimum standards on the data, and there was an example on which variables should we use for heat waves. And maybe in this regard, international organizations as ESA or others should push to guidelines. These guidelines, I think we should all agree before on what they should be. Another point that was tackled was confidentiality, And here we had the discussion. Okay, sometimes we already have this. There is no issue for harmonized data. It's already anonymized and so on. Also, but when we are going to smaller scales, let's say, it can be trickier. And also there was mention of that some parties, such as countries, are sometimes not eager to share their data. So that leads to the last point, and which is how to motivate health professionals and health public institutions to share the data, and also how to credit them for doing it. So that's the last point. Thank you.
So just as a concluding remark, and also reminding a little bit what Jérôme Benveniste mentioned today, we have various mechanisms to collaborate with ESA. We have an open call for proposal, which is always available, and where if you have data, epidemiological data, please try to join with Earth observation companies and to run some pilots. You have seen in my initial presentation, we had 7 pilot projects in the last 5 years, so we can run more of that. In addition to this, we have opportunities for scientists to come to Esrin, as our director was highlighting. So if you are involved in technology development, artificial intelligence, we have the Phi Lab here in Esrin that is focusing on this. If you are more of a scientist, so you would like to do a visiting, kind of visiting research period, we have a fantastic science hub, which was just inaugurated last year. Based also here in Esrin, so you can spend even a few months here running your research and collaborating with the ESA colleagues here on site. We will also use open innovation techniques linked to the hackathon. So the hackathon will not be a standalone activity, but we will continue engaging also with the space community. So on our end towards the health domain. So this will also be an opportunity for identifying potential collaborations. As I mentioned, partnerships, we are really open towards that. And let's not forget that we also have a few lines programmatic lines looking at creating digital twins. We are part of Destination Earth. So we are also, let's say, looking at the future in that respect. And so health can certainly become one of the elements of that program as well. With this, I really would like to thank all of you, and just to remind you, this is just the first step. We will continue with online activities. We will have a follow-up user forum dedicated to health and Earth observation, and so on. So please stay tuned on our EO4 Society website. Thank you.
Additionally to the scientific to have some integrated visiting expert on policies. So that's also I wanted just to mention because it might be very. Thanks.
Yes, this is a very important aspect. We are looking at health from a multidisciplinary perspective, as well as all the Earth observation aspects. So let's say any kind of scientist, also policy expert or biologist, medical doctor, veterinaries. So we are open to host all of you. And Jérôme mentioned we don't have biologists or medical doctors on site. So at least you can start visiting us and we can start exchanging knowledge among us. So we are open to that. Thank you, Anthony, for pointing that out. This is a very good point. So with this, I really wish a safe flight back to the speakers here, and a very good evening or morning or whatever it is to the online participants around the world, which were really many. Thank you very much.